प्रभु की आजा रे। तेरे अपने कर्म जाए, तेरे ही संग कर्म का मूल रे। तेरे कर्म अधम पाप में जाए, नारम मन को तोल रे। माटी देखे ये तन, देखे प्रभु नमन, शरण प्रभु की आजा रे। बारंबार मिले ना ये मानुष जन्म, शरण प्रभु की आजा रे। वेदवाणी पूरन कर ले, सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Today we have to start the symbol. We have in the previous section studied about the principle of meditation. So what is the principle of meditation? As you think, so you become. Why does meditation work? Because as you think, so you become. You're thinking of Brahman, and so you become Brahman. In the world also, this is true. Whatever you think of is what you become. So you think of money all the time, then that's what you become. You think of knowledge all the time, then that's what you become. So whatever you think of is what you become. Now, it's not just thinking, but conscious thinking. Otherwise, it will just be daydreaming and wasting your time. But consciously working towards it. When we were small, almost all the children used to hear about Lord Whittington, Mayor of London. I don't know how many people remember that. So he was a very poor boy, apparently, and he got a cat. And I mean, long story. And eventually, he became the mayor of London. Basically, he was an orphan boy. He went on the ship, and with a long story short, and then finally becomes mayor of London. So the important part of the story used to be that as he used to go about, he used to hear the bells ring, and the bells would go, Lord Whittington, Lord Mayor of London. in his mind, when he heard these bells, they would always be saying, Lord Whittington, Lord Mayor of London. And so apparently he therefore became. So as you think, so you become. Wherever you focus your thoughts, that is where you reach. But it isn't focusing your thoughts, or it is conscious thoughts, or it is not just idle daydreaming. It is obviously thoughts that get you to work, not thoughts that keep you from working. Now, okay, so that was point 2. Point 3 was then, but okay, that is very understandable as far as the world goes. But how can it work in the case of Brahman? Because Brahman means no thoughts. So how can you focus your thoughts on no thoughts? How can you have thoughts to create no thoughts? So he gave us the example of the kataka nut powder, which when you put over a sample of water, it removes not only all the dirt in it, but also itself. Let me discuss some other examples. So this was the previous section. Today's section, we start with the symbol Om. Now, in the state of meditation, what do you normally do? You chant. What do you normally chant? You chant Om, or some version thereof. So we will now study the symbol Om. Is anybody new in class today? Okay. All seem like names I know except for iPad and Oppo. Is anyone new? Okay, so iPad and Oppo A15S. I have not written their names, so I don't know who it is. The reason I'm asking if you're new is so that I can give you some background. If you're not new, then I can just continue with life. Okay, so the symbol Om. So Om is supposed to be the most powerful symbol. Now, when we say this, the important part for us to register is the word symbol. Can you show that diagram, please, Omkar? Brahman is on, if you see, you're the left side of the diagram, Brahman's on the left. That means he's beyond the world. What is the world made up of? That you will see the other side. One side is world, one side is Brahman. So what is the world? It is earth, fire, earth, water, fire, air, space. And this is your world. This is your world means this is one classification of the world. There are multiple classifications. This is one. So one side is Brahman, one side is world. All right. Now you want to reach Brahman. How are you going to reach the other side? You will have to use tools which are available to you. What are the tools available to you? Only things which are in the world. You cannot use Brahman to reach Brahman. So you have to use something from the world to get beyond the world. There's no other way to do it because your tools will have to come from here, right? So now what can these tools be? You can have tools like earth, made of earth, or of water, or of fire, or of air, or of space. These tools, when they represent Brahman, they are known as symbols of Brahman. The same tools, if they represent something else, then they'll become symbol of that thing, such as the wedding ring. The wedding ring is an earth symbol of marriage, or the Mangal Sutra. It's an earth symbol of marriage. Earth meaning it's a solid substance. It is made of the material earth, solid substances, right? So when you use these to reach the self, to reach Brahman, they become symbols of God, symbols of Brahman. Symbols of Brahman, which are made of earth, are things like idols, a temple, a mosque, whatever. a cross, a church. They are of the material of earth. So these are all earth symbols of Brahman. Then you have water symbols, waters which represent Brahman, such as the Ganga, the water at the church, the wine that they give you in church, the water, the tirtham that you get, the panchamrit. All these are symbols of Brahman pertaining to water. Then you have fire symbols. Fire symbols are what type? The Havan, the fire temple, the Mohammedans have, they come with that, whatever, what do you call it? They come with something and then you put it and then that smoke comes out, whatever that thing is called. These are the symbols of fire across religions. Christianity will have candles and lamps and all of that. So all of these are the sacred symbols. Sacred symbol means what? They are symbols of Brahman or God or transcendental or whatever you want to call it. They're got deep-rooted emotion with it, naturally, because supposed to represent Brahman. Just like there's a deep-rooted emotion with a Mangal Sutra or with a flag or with anything that's representative, like a picture of your friend. It's representative of your friend or representative of your child or representative of your spouse, and therefore that picture, that symbol, gets a lot of emotion attached with it. So you can't go to somebody and tell them your symbol is horrible, because they will pick up a talwar and beat you up, because there's a lot of emotion associated with it. Like, somebody tramples the national flag, we'll get very upset with it. Why would we get upset with it? Because it's a representative of our nation. If you trample our flag, you are trampling our nation. But is that person really trampling the nation? No, he's not capable of doing that. But still, we will not tolerate that symbol being treated disrespectfully. So this is across all religions, all traditions, that the symbols are treated with a great amount of respect and reverence because they're representative of that. All right. So therefore, it's a very mean thing or a very low caliber thing to speak ill of other people's symbols. You have to be respectful of everybody's symbol, because for them it is a symbol. Now, you cannot say that, oh, you have a totem pole and that's not God. Well, neither is your idol, neither is your water. They are all symbols of God. That is why we are equally respectful as a nation, as a geography. We're equally respectful of everybody's symbols. Then they come the air ones. Air symbols means the ones pertaining now. What is the symbol of air? It just means pertaining to fragrances, like the agarbattis, chandan, whatever fragrances are associated with religiosity, particular flowers, all of these become air symbols. And finally is the space symbol. Space symbol means sound. All sounds which are used as a symbol become space-related symbols. So you will see that there is a sort of ascending order of subtlety in these symbols. The earth is such that it can be contacted by all the five senses. And as you come towards space, which means you come towards sound, it can be contacted by only one. Now, space cannot be seen, air cannot be seen. So fire is supposed to be the first symbol which can be seen. And hence many religions have made great use of fire as it's somewhere between complete subtlety and complete grossness. So it is many religions, or maybe all religions, have used the fire symbol pretty much. It's pretty much used universally. Now, space symbol is to do with sounds. So when you're hearing a sound which represents to you Brahman, it could be the temple bell ringing, it could be Om Namah Shivaya, it could be any sound that is representative or a symbol of Brahman. Now, of all the sounds possible, the sound of Om is the subtlest. But before we go into why Om is the subtlest, is it clear up to this point? Any questions up to this point? Not on any other topic, just this topic. On the 5 types of symbols, their levels of subtlety, and how they are used as a tool to reach Brahman. Any questions up to this point? Okay, go ahead.
Does it mean that if I have a belief in a grosser symbol, then I am also at a grosser capability?
Depending on what you mean by the word belief. If you can only associate with the grosser symbols, then yes, your capacity for abstract thought is obviously less.
Okay, so the emotional effect the symbol has on me is an indication of.
You don't need to judge yourself or anyone else. The thing is, we have to just understand the principle involved. It's not used as a method of self-analysis or any such thing. But we have to appreciate that people who cannot go to sound directly will need something to see also. The more your senses are involved, the more your mind is able to get involved. As you reduce the what should I say, the how many senses are involved, your mind's capacity to stay focused reduces. So therefore, you see, you'll actually see this very interestingly in Hindi cinema, in the development of song and dance. Right in the beginning, when they started, there one lady would be singing one song and not moving because she has to sing. Then after that, she'd be surrounded. After a point, all the musicians are also, she's moving and the musicians are moving with her. You see the kind of movement of that from, I don't know, Devi Karani, I don't remember who the names, very, very old times. And then up to Segal. And then you see the hero and the heroine like Rajesh Khanna or Amitabh Bachchan. They're both running all around the trees, and then after some time, we came to the Shah Rukh Khan types where, one scene is in India, one scene is in Mauritius, next scene is in, Switzerland. More and more involved. Now you cannot have a dance without 50 people on that screen. And all of them moving at a pace that, the more agitated the mind gets, the more dramatic something has to be to hold that attention, to hold that mind. Relax. Those even the melodious music of the day today has to have drama happening. Right? So you can see this movement. And so the more agitated the mind is, the more drama it requires to hold your attention. Or the more drama it requires to feel calm. Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay. But this is not something that one has to analyze for oneself or others. Just to understand.
Yeah, just understanding the concept. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Deepraj.
This might be a silly question, but what if somebody does not have access to one or more senses? Say, for example, a deaf person. Uh, he obviously cannot have the space symbol. So does he settle for less? I mean, he kind of has to. He has no other option.
Yeah, for him, the levels of subtlety will change because how is subtle determined is by how many senses are contacting, right? So when you contact Earth, your five senses are contacting. But when he contacts Earth, only four senses may be contacting. So it will change because of the situation. The story will change.
No, thank you.
Okay, so now Om is supposed to be the most powerful sound. However, please distinguish between Brahman and Om. And Brahman and anything in the world. For all those who studied Keno Upanishad, Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. That alone is Brahman, not what you worship here. What can you worship here? You can only worship earth or water or fire or air or space. There's nothing else to worship. Well, Brahman is unknown to us. So how are you going to worship him? And if you knew him, why would you worship him? What is worship? What does worship mean?
Pursue.
Pursuing.
Very good. Worship means you're pursuing. You say, I worship Lakshmi. What does it mean? I'm pursuing Lakshmi. I worship Saraswati. What does it mean? I'm pursuing knowledge. So worship means that's what your pursuit is. So if you knew Brahman, then why will you pursue him? You already know him. Ab to shadi ho gayi. Now why will you go on pursuing still? Right. So you know Brahman, there's no question of spiritual sadhana or worship or any such thing. But when you don't know Brahman, then you will need a symbol. And all of these are your symbols or your representations of that which you do not know. This is an ideal which we know to represent an ideal that we do not know. Now, of all of these, they say Om is supposed to be the subtlest. All of them. Of all symbols, sound is the subtlest. Of all sounds, Om is the subtlest. And incidentally, Deepraj, I have not personally tried the experiment. You can try it. I understand that even deaf people are sometimes able to hear the sound of Om. It's what I have been led to believe. I have not personally tried this out. So now, okay, so far so good. Now let's go on to the reasons. Who will read?
I will read Jankiji.
Please.
Sound can be classified under two categories, inarticulate and articulate. Inarticulate sound, also known as intonational, deals with feeling, emotion of the mind, concerns the heart, whereas the articulate sound, also known as alphabetical, can be recited in the letters of the alphabet. It deals with knowledge, understanding by the intellect, concerns the head. However, articulate sound has a limited application. It can be transacted only by those who have gone through the particular training. Learn that language. Imagine a Persian meeting a Russian. One tries to communicate with the other in the in one's language. Neither of them understands the other. But when one laughs or cries, the other instantly knows he is happy or unhappy. Such communication is inarticulate, intonational, universal way by which even babies and animals can communicate. Music is another example of intonation. The sound of music has a positive effect on beings. It produces great results. So here he says sound can be classified under two categories, inarticulate and articulate. Articulate, also known as intonational.
Inarticulate.
It is, sorry?
Inarticulate.
Inarticulate. Yeah, inarticulate, also known as intonational. It deals with feeling, emotions of the mind, deals with the heart. It's a universal way. It's a natural way to communicate. If you laugh or cry, you can conclude that he is happy or unhappy. Other one is articulate. Alphabet, also known as alphabetical, can be recited in the letters of alphabet. It deals with knowledge, understanding of intellect, limited application as it requires particular training, particular language. That's all.
Very good. So there are two types of sounds, articulate and intonation. Articulate, you have to learn. Intonational, you don't have to learn. So they say that Om has a great inarticulate effect too. Just the sound of Om. Ramatirtha calls it a natural word, and he says that's why every religion seems to have taken it up in different ways. Of course, there's Amen, Amin. If you notice, it's the same sort of thing as Om. And sometimes, when you study all this, you may think, oh, this is all very theoretical. So, main kya karu? I'll tell you one time where this was actually very useful to me. And I don't know if it'll ever be useful to you. I hope you don't have to use it like that. But for whatever it is worth, I will tell you. I was at Rishikesh. I used to stay at Ananda Spa. There some 8-9 months to teach Vedanta. And when I used to go out for a walk, and once there were a bunch of monkeys, and I saw that the locals used to pass the monkeys. So even I was trying to walk past. But they got very angry with me, maybe because I was not a local or whatever. And they came growling at me like that, all the monkeys. Monkeys, if they bite you, you can get rabies and all. So it's a pretty dangerous situation. So now I don't know what to do, right? Because I'm not trying to harm the monkeys, but how am I supposed to communicate to the monkey that I don't want to harm you? I am just going. So I did what usually they train you with animals, that you just stop, don't do any movements, don't turn your back to them, the normal stuff. And then I started taking a very slow step backwards, and I didn't know what else to do. Then I remembered the symbol Om. So I was, it seemed to be cooling off. And I was like, oh wow, this really works. So then I was just softly saying it and just taking quiet steps backwards. Now don't try this stunt, okay? If you meet a lion or something, now don't try saying Om to it and seeing whether it will work. I try not to meet the lion, that would be a better thing. But I'm just telling you that if, things in Vedanta that just sound theoretical and then, oh, yeah, Baba. But you never know when they will suddenly be of some use to you. So don't switch off and say, oh, okay, now articulate in articulate. There may be a time where you have to deal in a situation where an articulate sound is important. Some people have done some studies where they would play Om to horses in stables and all, and apparently the horses would be quietened, or cows gave more milk, and they did studies like that. I haven't gone into it, okay, and I'm just repeating it more as gossip than anything else. So I haven't personally verified whether the study was a good study and all. But I mean, our research department can try all this. When we have a university, and in the university we can have cows, and when we have cows, then we will have home, and then you can check whether they do feel happier, and therefore give a better produce. We can check all that. But as of now, it's important to understand the use of the intonation. In fact, another important use of the intonation is even in the articulate. Can you tell me how intonational is important in the articulate?
I mean, the way, even when we're trying to communicate with somebody, tone matters, right? People tell us, you said the right thing, but the way you said it, I didn't like it.
Right. So it's like, suppose you tell somebody, I hate you. Or you tell somebody, I hate you. Big difference, no? So every time you think you are saying articulate, but people are hearing the inarticulate. It's a very strange phenomenon. So articulate sound, though all our emphasis is usually on that, we don't realize how important the inarticulate is as well. So two types of sounds, the articulate and the intonational. The articulate you can understand only if you learned that particular language. Otherwise, how will you understand? But suppose you don't know Marathi, and I tell you, "Tu kiti gaada vais." You, as it is, no, I'm saying something to you which is not very good. And suppose I say to you, "मला तू फार आवडतोस." Even though you don't know what I'm saying, you have understood what I am saying. Right? So in the language is not, you have to learn it. But the intonational bit, everybody gets immediately. That is how you see mothers talking to their newborn children. They are just making sounds. There's no words over there. And even when they talk to their pets, they're making sounds. There's no actual, even if they're using some words, they're meaningless words. So intonational has a very powerful effect on the mind. Human mind, animal mind, even plant mind is what people say. So two types of sound, articulate, which you need to study, and inarticulate, which you are born with. Everybody knows. Everybody means all creatures know. I don't know if a cockroach would know that. Deepraj, you can do all these experiments. Cockroach understands inarticulate sound. They do, right? Because if you make a loud sound, they'll all run away. So they are understanding some sound. But if you start and have
Before the cockroach, I will run away.
But anyway, you cannot have a conversation with the cockroach, right? You cannot say, Mr. Cockroach, this flat is in my name. See, I'll show you my property documents. You can't be in here. You cannot have this conversation.
Yeah, I tried many times.
Yeah. You will have to use the document to whack the cockroach or something. There's nothing else you can do. I don't whack the cockroach, but you whack next to the cockroach so he'll get frightened and he'll run. Or use the document to pick up the cockroach and throw him out of the window. So you can do all these things, but you cannot have a conversation with Mr. Cockroach because Mr. Cockroach has not been trained in the language. Right? So two kinds of sounds, articulate and intonational. Articulate requires education. Inarticulate, nothing. Everybody just knows it. Right. Now, so what is this got to do with Om? Who will read the next point, the next para?
I can read.
Yeah, go ahead.
The symbol Om has the distinction of being both articulate and inarticulate, alphabetical and intonational. It has a deep philosophical significance, while the chant of Om has an extraordinary effect on human beings. The two aspects together help an individual attune with the eternal being. So it has both alphabetical and intonational qualities. It has both a philosophical quality and it has a physical effect. So because of both of these things, it helps the individual attune to the self, the eternal being.
Yes, except suddenly you added the word physical. Where did physical come in? It has an extraordinary effect. It has not told us what effect. Physical, mental, intellectual, all that was not mentioned. It has an effect. Or whether it has a physical effect or not, you all can all do research. You know, we have a research department, right? Anybody who wants to be in charge, in part of the research department, please get in touch with the research department. Yes, Deepraj and others. Deepraj, get in touch with Deepraj if you want to be part of research. You all can choose any topic you want to do research on and do it. Okay, so so the most powerful symbol is Om. Why is it powerful? First reason, it has the advantages of both the inarticulate and the articulate. Inarticulate, it has dealt with. So now let's understand what is the articulate meaning. In terms of language, what is the meaning of Om? Okay, who will read the next paragraph? Aparna, will you read?
Yes, Jankiji. Om, that's Om, is constituted of three sounds, three letters, A, U, U, and M, that's Ma. In Sanskrit, grammar, A, and U coalesce to form O, that's O. Thus, A, U, and M together is pronounced as Om. Om. Even the mute can produce the sound of Om. Om, Om. O, A is a guttural sound. It emanates from the throat. There is no sound below the throat. U is the sound produced when it courses through the mouth. And M is where it ends, when the lips close. There is no sound beyond that. Thus, Om covers the full range of sound, represents the entire phenomenon of sound. The chant of Om produces peace and harmony around. So it said in this paragraph that Om is of three sounds. It's got three letters. That's A, U, and M, U, and Ma. And in Sanskrit, it talks about the grammar that the A and the U coalesce to form O. So it's pronounced as Om. So even the mute can produce the sound. A or U, it emanates, it just shows that from where you can, the sound is, that emanates from the throat, and there is no sound below that. U is when it courses through the mouth, and Ma is when the lips close. So it just shows how the three meet together to form Om. And Om covers the whole range of these three sounds. And when you chant Om, it produces peace and harmony around.
Okay, very good. So what is the first reason? Articulate reason. Intonational we did. Now this articulate. What is the first reason in terms of reason? Reason itself, it covers the entire sound phenomenon. remember your definition of subtlety. Subtlety is pervasiveness and control. So this pervades the entire sound phenomenon. How does it pervade it? Is the lowest sound you can do. Is the central sound you can do. And close. That's the last sound. After you can't say anything. So it is covering the entire range of sound. And that is why it is considered to be the subtlest. It's the most pervasive. That means every sound technically should be within this. It has to be, whatever sound the human makes has to be somewhere in this range. So since it's covering the whole range, it's considered the most subtle by definition. Right? Now, next one. So far, so good, right? No problem so far. All right. Who will read the next one? Momita?
Om symbolizes the pure consciousness, the consciousness that pervades the waking, dream, and deep sleep states. The A represents the world experienced in the waking state of consciousness, while, what is this G?
I think there's a font error here. U, while you represent.
Yeah, okay. While U represents the world of the dream state of consciousness, and more the nothingness of the deep sleep state of consciousness. While chanting Om, the meditator must focus his concentration on that pure consciousness, the supreme self that supports the three states all through life. So Om is a symbol that represents pure consciousness, and it pervades all three states that are known to us, the waking, dream, and deep sleep states. So A represents the waking state, U the dream state, and M the deep sleep state. So while we are chanting Om, we must focus on that on the pure consciousness, the supreme self that supports all these three states.
Very good. So is the waking, U is the dream, M is the deep sleep. And what pervades all the three states is Om. Om is there in all the three states. So that's the second explanation of why it is considered to be the subtlest. So what do we have so far? Firstly, we understood that it has the benefits of both articulate and inarticulate. Inarticulate is just the feelings that it generates in us, the effect it has on us. It calms us down. Us means all living creatures. It's just soothing to the mind. And second one began the articulate reasons. First articulate reason is it covers the whole sound phenomenon. Second one in that is it represents three states of consciousness and Om, which is pervading them all. It is what connects them all and pervades them. Then what's the next reason?
Janki ji, you name the person, he will read.
No, but first Omkar has to put it on the...
That is okay.
Okay. All right, Deep Raj, I can see you.
The mantra word symbol Om does not belong to any religion. It is merely a symbol of the ultimate reality. It represents pure consciousness, the supreme God. It is nature's word, not subject to conjugation, inflection, or grammatical manipulation as other words are. Om occupies a very special place with reference to God. God is said to be omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. These words begin with Om. Even prayers in different languages end with Amen, 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 which again is a reference to Om. So, Om is a symbol that is not particular to any religion, and it's nature's word. It is a natural word, and it's not subject to any conjugation, inflection, or grammatical manipulation. Another point is that the words for God, the qualities of God, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. Om is the first word in that. And also in other religions, prayers end with Amen, Amen, which are again representations of Om. So these were all the reasons.
Good. So what is our fourth reason? Fourth reason or third articulate reason is it is not a word from any language. It is a natural word. That is why you find all over the place people are using this. Those who are not familiar with Sanskrit, it's not that they don't use it. People are using it all over the place. So it's also subtlest because it is most pervasive. Yeah, it is being used in English, it is being used in Arabic, it is used in all sorts of languages. So again, it is pervasive. So what have we done so far? That there are various types of symbols. How many types of symbols do we have?
Five.
Very good. And they range from the grossest to the subtlest of the subtlest of them. Subtlest is sound. Of sound, Om is the subtlest. And we just done a few of the reasons, of course, because you can go on in the explanation of Om. But we've done 4 reasons. 1 for articulate and 1 for intonational and 3 for articulate. Right? So far, so good, right? Now, next. Who will read the next?
Janki, 1 minute. Janki, can you explain this 4th line? Not subject to conjugation, inflection, or grammatical. What is grammatical manipulation, as other words are?
In Sanskrit grammar, you have the declensions. Are you aware of that? A word
No.
has got 7 3s are 21 forms. Every word has got 21 forms. Every noun has got 21 forms. Like deva, devaha, devam, devan. So each word has got 20, but you can't do that with Om. Then the verbs have their own forms. Or do it in English now. A verb. He says, she, not. I say, he says, he, she, it says, you say, I say, they say,
We say.
you say, we say. Right? So the word say has constantly been changed according to the grammar of that language. Correct? So whether it's a verb or a noun, these words are subject to grammatical manipulation. Because of grammar, these words change. Like I can say things to you like, aren't you going to come to Mumbai? So I've taken the word aunt and not and put it together and said aunt, right? So I'm doing all sorts of things with words, joining them, separating them, changing their forms. All of this happens by the grammar rules of a language. However, the word Om is not subject to any of these. You don't do anything to Om, right? It just stays what it is. No, the word doesn't change. Clear?
Yeah. So like somebody's name, we can इसको बोलते हैं ना, उसका अब ब्राउंस करते, so you cannot do with Om, right?
Yeah, you can't do anything with Om. What are you going to do? Can you say Om ke ghar jayenge? You can't do Om ke ghar unless you call the child Om or something. But the
Yes.
word itself is not possible. Like you can't say Om's home. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
word Om itself. Prashant says, what about Hari Om? Hari Om are two separate words. So nothing has happened to the Om. E and Om, two different things. The Om itself stays what it is. Everything else happens around it. So that's what it means. It is not subject to conjugation, inflection, or grammatical manipulation. Conjugation means verbs and nouns are conjugated in Sanskrit, or at least in Panini. Normally, you say that the nouns are conjugated, right? And the verbs go through different tenses and different persons. Now this happens to Om. So it's not part of the language, part of any language. Now you're okay, Prashant?
Yes, madam, I got.
Okay, Prashant, you can read the next paragraph. Prashant, you're reading?
I'm unable to see, man. It's got frozen. The screen is got frozen. Can I try the next time?
Okay.
It's not visible actually for me.
All right. Uttara?
I can see now. I can see.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
In the practice of meditation, it's not visible actually. Can I start, madam?
Yes, please do.
In the practice of meditation, the mind chants the mantra Om. Between every two successive chants, there is a momentary silence. That silence is known as amatra. The intellect discriminates between sound and silence, between mantra and amatra. As long as the chant lasts, there is thought flow, which establishes the presence of the mind. And with thoughts flowing, the pair of thought and silence exists for the intellect to continue operating. In the peak of meditation, the chant ends in silence. The thought flow ceases. The mind becomes extinct. There is no longer the pair of thought and silence. Consequently, the intellect ceases. Thus, the meditator transcends both the mind and intellect. His individual self merges with the Supreme Self, gains spiritual enlightenment. I don't know, I cannot summarize it. Between two successive chants, it says that there is a momentary silence, and that momentary silence is called amatra. And intellect discriminates between sound and silence, and between mantra and amatra. But I cannot, I'm unable to summarize it.
Don't worry, it became a bit tough, right? The earlier paragraphs were a little on the easier side. No, but you did well so far. Go further, see what you get.
As long as long as the chant lasts, there is a thought flow. When there is no chant, the thought also ceases. Mind also becomes extinct. Consequently, intellect also ceases. Further, the meditator transcends both mind and intellect. I'm actually reading it from the passage.
It's okay. You've done fine. Eh, you got most of it. So what is meditation? What is happening in meditation? There is a chant going on, right? Om, Om, Om. Some chant is going on. Now, as far as this chant is going on, who is going to chant? The mind is repeating this thing. That means the mind is there. Now, what else is there? There's also a period of silence going on, right? There is the chant Om, Om, Om. There's a little period of silence between each chant. That period is known as amatra. So there is mantra, amatra. These things are going on, whichever mantra you choose. Now, since the chant is going on, the mind is there. Since there are two things, the intellect is there. What are the two things there?
Sound and silence.
Sound and silence. The mantra and the amatra. Two things. Now, if two things were not there, it's impossible for the intellect to be there. Why?
Because intellect by definition discriminates between pairs of opposites.
Yes, because the role of the intellect is discrimination. Discrimination implies two. You can't say I'm discriminating, I'm distinguishing between one thing. You can't. You have to have two things. So what are the two things in the seat of meditation? There is the mantra and the amatra. The mantra and the silence. So now there are two things. What will happen if the mantra stops?
No discrimination.
No
Thought ceases.
discrimination is possible because there are no two things. So what will you discriminate? What is the other thing that happens? There is no mind also, because that last flow of saying Om, Om, Om is the mind, right? It's a flow of thoughts. Flow of thoughts is the mind. So as long as the flow of thoughts is there, mind is there. As long as there is the sound and silence, intellect is there. When the mantra stops, no mind because there's no flow of thought. And no intellect because there are no two things. When mind and intellect have both gone, this is
Self-realization.
self-realization. Okay, Prashant, is it clear? Now?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, sorry, let's do it again.
No, not that.
Yeah.
No, I'll have to reflect. I just.
No, I mean, if it's not clear to one, it could be possibly not clear to others also. It's not like it's only not clear to you and to everybody else it's clear, crystal clear. It doesn't work like that. Always remember, if I didn't get it, maybe others didn't. Too. So let's go again. In the seat of meditation, what is happening? There is a mantra being chanted. Right? Since the mantra is chanting, there's a flow of thoughts. I mean, that mantra is the flow of thought. That means mind is there. Between the mantra ucharan, between the saying of the mantra, there's a bit of silence. Om, Om, Om. So there is mantra, there is silence. There is mantra, there is silence. There is sound, there is silence. Since there are two things, intellect can function. Because intellect needs two things to function, otherwise it cannot. So during the meditation, mind is there, intellect is there. Now those thoughts wane away. The mantra comes to an end. Now what happens? Because there is no chant, the mind is not there. Because there is no sound and silence, there are no two things, intellect is not there. If the mind and intellect have been dissolved, what remains is the self. This is a little more complicated portion.
Madam, what if we are chanting continuously Om without giving gap? Om, 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 Om. Is there a gap?
Intellect is not there because there are no two things. But remember, our definition says there has to be intellect, and then only it will become meditation.
Okay.
Vidushi?
Janki, how would you distinguish this state from the deep sleep state?
Deep sleep is a state of no effort. Which state are you talking about? Meditation or self-realization?
Yeah, when the mind and intellect cease
When the mind and intellect?
cease to exist.
Oh, the state of self-realization and deep sleep?
Yes.
In deep sleep, the vasanas are there but not manifesting. In self-realization, the vasanas are not there.
Thank
Deep Raj?
Yeah, to continue with the thing about the deaf person, I mean, nothing here is pointing to particularly there being a sound. I mean, it is sound and silence, but we can replace it maybe with light and darkness. So maybe a deaf meditator can do the same thing with light, and like he opens his eyes and then he closes it, and the intellect can discriminate between these two.
I don't know why you're so concerned today with what the poor challenged people are going to do, but the deaf person cannot hear us. He can hear himself. Remember, he has his thoughts, right? He's not actually saying, neither will you actually be saying the word Om. You're chanting this in your mind. In the seat of meditation, you're not actually going Om, Om, Om. This is what you are saying mentally.
But if he has never had the sensation of hearing, how would he know what a sound is?
Well, it's not that there is no sound at all. It's zero. Even a blind person can see light, right? So a deaf person can hear, but may not be distinguishable or anything. And it doesn't matter what sound. Remember that. It's not like he has to chant Om and only then he will realize. He can do brew, brew, and he'll still realize. Whatever, I mean, whatever sound he has heard, or whatever is his conceptual understanding of it. Now, you please find some deaf person who is interested in this and find out how he does that. There is no actual literature on how it is done. I'm assuming that even people who are auditorily challenged have some capacity of sound, but I don't know, doesn't actually specify. All this, you people go and do your research. But better if you do research which will benefit everyone.
Janki ji,
Yeah, Bhumi.
this cessation of chanting happens very naturally, automatically.
Yes.
Like if you are you go deep into meditation and that just happens naturally.
Yes. It's not deep into meditation, and then that's why Vidush is saying, how is it not like deep sleep? It is you're extremely focused. It's not like you are just chanting and you're gone into trance. You are extremely conscious. It's the highest effort a human being can put. So you are deeply aware, obviously, deeply aware of the calmness that is obviously there, but you're focused on those words, and then they're not there anymore. Silence.
Also wanted to ask one more thing. How is it proved that is waking state, U is dream state, and Ma is deep sleep?
It's not proved. There's no proof. It is just symbolically associated with it. I mean, it's not like really there is some connection between and waking. It's just that is the most expressed. So that's the waking state. And ma is the least expressed. So that's.
So it's just an association.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Vidushi?
So Janki-ji, would it be right to say that in deep sleep, the mind and intellect go into a dormant mode, whereas in self-realization, they simply disappear?
Yes, sort of. They are in dormant mode, but in self-realization, you will need to express it differently if you're going to use the mind and intellect technology. You will have to say mind and intellect terminology. You'll have to say mind is complete love and intellect is complete knowledge, but that also has a limitation because intellect is incapable of complete knowledge and mind is incapable of complete love. So it's you can say yes, mind and intellect is dormant in deep sleep in the state of. You'll have to very carefully think of what those words are, which don't lead to a misunderstanding. If you say they're completely gone, then also you will reach problems. It better not to describe realization in terms of mind.
So they transmute to a different quality.
We normally say that you transcend the mind, which means that you no longer believe you are the mind.
Thank you.